These days, current events unfold on a dozen channels. Headlines all seem to be shouting, and good news can be as scarce as a moment to relax. So let's turn down the noise this summer, unplug just a little bit, and head to a shelter from the storms of life. The historic port city of Alpena, located on the Sunrise Shore of Michigan. Only a few hours drive, but miles away from the weight of the world. Nestled between a vast forest and an endless clear blue bay, where the wonders of nature are as welcoming as the local hospitality. We can explore more than 200 shipwrecks in the largest freshwater sanctuary anywhere. Count the stairs to the top of a lighthouse, or the masts that jet into the harbor sky at moonrise. Let's take a trip to the friendly, picturesque city of Alpena, a haven from the world that's pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting December 15th, 2014. Call the roll, please.
Johnson? Here. Nielsen?
Here.
Nowak? Sexton?
Here.
Walagora?
Here. I'll note that Councilman Nowak is excused this evening. Thank you. And we'll rise for a pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Everyone had the opportunity to read the meeting minutes from the regular session of December 1st, 2014. Any issues? Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address council. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Being none, I have a simple announcement. I won't go through going down there, but I was asked today by the fire department to announce that it's their chief's birthday today, so happy birthday, Chief Forbush.
Donuts at staff meeting tomorrow, or Christmas cookies, either one.
No, we want you to bring them.
Yes, you, not me.
Oh, it's your birthday, you're stuck with that. So happy birthday, Chief, from your department and myself. Consent agenda this evening, bills to be allowed in the amount of $507,596.14, and collection of property taxes for the Alpena Public School District and the Alpena-Montomorency-Alcona Educational Service District.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, this evening I have recognition of annual employee award recipients for the Citywide Pride Program. I think, was there a brief description of the program in here?
Yes.
Sorry, I was trying to look for that. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. The Citywide Pride Program began in 2000 and acted as an opportunity for coworkers, citizens, and visitors to Alpena to recognize city employees for going the extra mile. Throughout the year, employees receive citywide pride slips indicating their act of kindness, dedication, and hard work. These slips recognize employees for going above and beyond their daily job duties. In December of each year, the mayor presents the individuals with the highest number of slips with the Citywide Pride Award. Additionally, as appreciation for a job well done, award winners are given 4 hours of personal time to be used for before the end of the fiscal year. There are 5 awards, one for each department, and I have this year's awards.
And Jeff and Vicki are not here.
Pardon?
Jeff and Vicki are not
So
here.
Jeff and Vicki are not here. So let me put those over here.
Might want to at least announce who's here.
So yeah, I was kind of figuring, well, I'll announce who's not here, and then I'll announce the ones that are here. Does that make a little bit more sense? Or no? So not here from the clerical department is Vicki Resnuski. And also not here this evening from the DPW is Jeff Tingler. Otherwise, I guess I'll just ask to join me. I'll rattle them off as I come around. From the administration department is Steve Schultz. Steve, congratulations. Thank you. Hang out for a minute. From the fire department, Tim Slosser. And from the police department, Eric Ham. Congratulations. Thanks, guys. Well, you gotta open up your chest.
That's your checks in there.
Nice.
You're given the hours. You're given the 4 hours to each hour.
Okay, announcements this evening, the meet and greet Huron Humane Society.
I just wanted to mention that the city is partnering with the Humane Society, and it's been about the 4th week, and we take a dog once a week for about 5 hours on Thursdays, and it gives the public a chance to see the dog, maybe adopt it, that's our hope, and it also gives the pet a chance to get out of the pens and come to City Hall, and they love it. They prance back and forth and get a few extra pets during the day, so if anybody wants to come up and see the animals, they're here on Thursday from 10 to 5, or I'm sorry, 10 to 3.
Okay. Awesome. Questions about that or anything? That's kind of cool.
We're all trying not to comment. So.
Well, you want us to put your names down as potential
Always.
recipients, and we'll let them know.
No, I can bring more if you want a few.
Really? All right, no proclamations or report of officers. Tonight we have communications and petitions is Larry Clark from to give us an update on the US 23 South Corridor project. Come on up, Larry.
Thanks, Matt. Everybody knows I always have a stack of paper for you.
Better than not enough. Sir?
Thank you.
Hi, Larry, thank you.
I think
Hello, how are you?
lots of stuff going on.
Well, thank you again. Always appreciate the opportunity to come before you and talk about 23 South and what our progress has been and what our goals are for the future, and a couple frustrations to share with you this time too, but nothing we don't think we can't overcome. I hope you all agree that 23 South is looking better. And just a tremendous amount of volunteers and commitment and number of hours for this project. And it's just so rewarding to see I'll go through that in a minute, and who made a real difference this year. But when you, to back up for a second, if you can recall, there's really two key elements to our project, Taking Pride in Alpena, which we've kind of morphed into a US 23 South redevelopment plan. But the two key areas are improving the aesthetics, and that kind of falls in line with the cleanups that we're doing, predominantly the roadway cleanup every May, June, the painting, the efforts we are underway to address blight, and then secondly, the economic development portion. And that has to do with streetscape improvement and also has to do with recreational opportunities. So to elaborate on that, this year in May, we once again executed a major highway cleanup on US 23. This year we had about 30 volunteers. Last year we had about 70, but the roadway was so much cleaner this year. And we think that's really due for two reasons. Number one, it hadn't been cleaned in quite a while thoroughly since we did that 2 years ago. But it really seems like the motorists are pitching out less trash, and the businesses are keeping their properties cleaner as well. So that was good news, especially after the winter we had. During the summer, for example, the Navigator Scout crew and their crew leader, Mary DeLon, painted 10 sign poles during 6 months down there. And it was just rewarding to see those kids. You couldn't stop them. Most of us, myself included, don't really like to paint. And they just couldn't get enough of it. You know, they have a roller. They have the brush, and they just really did a great job for us. Home Depot donated much of that paint for that program. But also the Convention and Visitors Bureaus gave us a $1,000 grant to really help for the paint and supplies. Also during the summer, one of our Bear Point residents, Ken Tenniswood, painted 8 remaining fire hydrants at all the fire hydrants within the Bear Point subdivision. And you know, when you think about painting a fire hydrant, probably in itself not that much of a huge deal, but when you combine that with other things, then it starts to get momentum down there. So far, we've painted all the hydrants from the city limits down to Squaw Bay, north of Squaw Bay. The Plowmans, once again, put out flower pots, as you probably noticed, on the east side of the road. And we went around and asked the businesses that had flower pots in front of their places and the residences to keep them watered, and most of them did. They were out there watering. There was only a couple places we had to stop back. One of the main things we did this year also was create what we're calling a South Bay corridor. Doesn't sound quite so industrial. And matter of fact, some of our business owners have displayed the words Alpena, Sanctuary of the Great Lakes, and also Welcome to South Bay Corridor on their electronic signs and banners. So as you know, we have a North River District, and so we're trying to create something like that. And cities of America abound with examples of towns and major cities that are a collection of small neighborhoods, and that's what we're trying to give that a feel, and what we're trying to accomplish with destination shoppers and tourists as well. Also this year, a steering committee has been formed with several business leaders and citizens. Denise Klein from NIMCOG, which has been just an invaluable asset, but also a couple of township trustees and some planning commissioners. And we meet about once or twice a month to work on economic and aesthetic development issues. As you probably well know, we participate in the 23 Heritage Route Project. Our little neck of the woods on 23 South was selected as the pilot project, in fact, for economic development. And that's because of the strong volunteer effort we had going on there. So that was definitely a plus. Felt pretty good about that. This summer, many of you attended a public input session at the Alpena Mall. We were just really excited about that. There were over 80 participants. And they told us the recommendations for enhancing the area, but also what they liked about the area. And the neighborhood feel really came out of that meeting. These ideas were incorporated into a South Bay Corridor vision plan, which was developed by NIMCOG, which has become really our blueprint for redevelopment. We're working on that now. I've attached a copy for your review, and we're working on the first 2 points on that. We've completed an application for University of Michigan School of Natural Resources and Environment, courtesy of one of our trustees, Matt Dunkel, who's a graduate from that program. And that involves, if we're awarded that, graduate school assistants to come up to 23 South and assistance with landscape architecture. We hope we get that. We're working with MDOT to develop a roadside pull-off at Squaw Bay near the 45th parallel. We've already started some discussions with Moran Ironworks for a sculpture there. And also, we're looking into a kiosk, which would, courtesy of your cell phone, be able to retrieve information about wrecks in Thunder Bay, and particularly in Squaw Bay. So people can reach that if they're on non-motorized transportation like bicycles. We plan to extend the bike path down to that pull-off. And also, we'd really like to move the bike path from its current location, which is really close to 23, through the woods and behind Kmart, and somehow wiggle it through there to put back up to Missakewas Park at that area. We're continuing our efforts with township trustees to encourage them to enforce the blight ordinances. And we created also, just in the last couple of months, a South Bay Corridor Association. It's a, many of you probably got those applications via email to provide communication and list ideas and improve volunteerism. So we already have several $100s that people have donated for that as part of our funding program. Okay, moving on to next year, we continue to work with NIMCOG and MEDC and others, Alpena Township and the Heritage Route program. Given we don't meet what's called a traditional downtown designation, we're having some issues with MDOT and for the TAP program, and also trying to secure student development block grants through MEDC. And Greg, do you have any ideas? I'm all ears. So,
Well, if you can get yourself designated a downtown, it will help tremendously. Otherwise, it's difficult, but there may be ways around that.
yeah, and we get the Port Improvement Authority might help us with that. Most of you probably know the community development block grants. Our goal is there to be to address spotlight issues around the whole township, not just on the south quarter. We get identified some properties that can be acquired, or what do we need to do to turn those into more viable places. The MDOT program we're working on in terms of streetscape is called their Transportation Alternatives Program. We're kind of blocked for that right now for streetscape development, but we would be eligible for non-motorized transportation. So that might be a resource we can use for bike paths and recreational activities. But not to be discouraged, we're still working with NIMCOG on streetscape grants through the USDA Rural Development Program. And that could also possibly entail some utility line relocation, which would be phenomenal down there because we have utility lines everywhere. It would also enable us to redo the sign ordinance and get some uniformity in signs. So the DNR, also working with the DNR, Code Management, and a couple of other state agencies for grants for the 45th Parallel Roadside Park. We're hoping we can actually buy some property. We can find some reasonable price, and also for our bike paths. The other thing we're working actively on at the end of the year here is selecting a landscape architect. We have a list of 7, and I've put those in parentheses there. We need to, or we'd like to reduce that to 3, and then have representatives from the steering committee, the township trustees, and planning commissioners conduct interviews. If you have any you would like to bring to my attention, please give me a call or speak to me after the meeting. I think we should take a look at. The ones with asterisks are MDOT approved. And from what they tell me, we can still utilize a firm that's not MDOT approved, which is probably slow things down. It would be a lot easier to use the MDOT approved ones. After a landscape architect is selected, the next step would be to complete 3 public input sessions with design charrettes submitted by the landscape architect for the streetscape design. And if all goes well, hopefully we release bids for engineering work. We're also also been working and trying to find some private individuals that can help us write grants. I've already spoken to Mr. McMaster over at ACC. Hopefully we can get that rolling. During May, June next year, we'll have another cleanup, and obviously we'll continue the flower pot program and have people out painting. This year coming up, we're going to focus more on buildings, private and commercial buildings, and building trim. Our goal is to contact individuals that really don't have the means or they can't maneuver well enough, maybe to keep their homes up and offer assistance for them, painting and so forth, through a number of our volunteer agencies around town. The other thing is, it's been kind of a passion of mine. I'll be attending the intergovernmental meeting in February to address all of the county, township, and city officials about blight across the area. So we really take a look at blight from a county-wide macro perspective. Okay. Any questions on the cleanup effort or what our plans are coming up in 2015 and beyond? If I could just end on a note here about volunteerism. As I said earlier, it's just phenomenal the number of volunteers that have participated with us. And of course, we can always use more. We can always accomplish more if we had even more volunteers. But we're very grateful for the volunteers that we have. And I did a little research on the subject. And the people that I talk to that volunteer, they tell me just how good they feel about it. That they're able to get back to their community. They think they can step back and see a noticeable difference. They know it's a worthwhile project. And one day I got a little bored, so I totaled up the number of volunteers, 218, at a little over 3,000 hours. So we underpaid us at $10 an hour. That's $30,000 in value-added benefit. Just in a couple of years we've been at it, the number of volunteers we have. Thanks again.
Awesome.
Thank you,
I
Larry.
appreciate it. We'll certainly be at the IG meeting for anything there. Good update. No action on that. No unfinished business, no new business. Oh, yep, there's new business, sorry, it's on the backside. We have a SpeedConnect request for amendment to site lease for water tower space at 403 North 9th Avenue. Steve, award-winning Steve.
In 2002, the city entered into a site lease agreement with SpeedConnect, an internet service provider. In addition to maintaining and installing equipment on the 9th Avenue water tower, they also provided the city with 10 SpeedNet connections for internet service, and as well as off-site web storage. We didn't have the space at that time to store a web page, so we stored it off-site on their servers. And then in addition to all that, they also paid us a monthly rent. Since the agreement, the city has entered into additional contracts for internet service, and we now have plenty of space to host our own web page on the city servers. And although SpeedConnect has continued to issue monthly checks in accordance with the agreement. The original agreement, however, did expire in 2012, but SpeedConnect continued to pay us and make increases in the payments where the agreement required it, and this basically continued that agreement in practice. They've decided to change their name, as well as they would like permission to install some new equipment on the towers, and thought that maybe we should have an additional agreement in place now. So they've submitted an agreement to me, and an amendment to the agreement, and it's been reviewed and modified and approved by the city attorney. The amendment modifies the lease term to automatically renew for 3 additional 5-year terms with the option to terminate for either party. The rental fee will continue to increase at a rate of 4% per year, and the company name is officially changed to SpeedConnect LLC. There is also a section which ensures that all previous agreement terms will remain in effect, which was added by Bill. He requested that addition, so then that ensures that other agreements, everything remains in place. So they agreed to that, and I actually got the original in the mail today, signed by them, awaiting our signature. And I guess guess in review of everything proposed, I'm recommending as IT coordinator that City Council approve the amendment and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign. Continue the agreement.
Any questions for Steve? Are there other leases up there, or is that pretty much
The other
there?
big one is AT&T.
On that
They
particular
have-
tower?
or they have, I think they have one thing on that tower.
that
but
tower
they
too?
mainly have the tower on 23 North.
Okay,
They paid for the railing on that tower.
I remember that, yeah, I just don't remember this one at night, so. Next one.
We approve the amendment to the City of Alpena's site lease with SpeedConnect LLC.
Sexton?
Yep.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson? Nielsen?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Move we adjourn to closed session.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson? Nielsen?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
You are watching All About Alpena.